Hi friends, Zach here. Who likes Nintendo DS's? Great! Look at what I purchased for $6. I got this on eBay a while back. These kind of listings work a little bit like a lottery, where the seller grabs a random broken bulk DS out of this box right here and donates some profits to charity. Then you get what you get. This is what I got. Let's open it up to see what's inside. Oh, right. Ha, whatever, I'm rolling with it. Let me tell you what I've noticed and what you've probably noticed already from the outside. Obviously, the top and the bottom screens are completely separated. With that separation, there's a cut cord and a completely torn ribbon cable. Both of the hinges are completely broken off the bottom shell. We're missing the battery compartment cover, and there's no stylus. So pretty much everything. It would be a lot of fun to 3D print the parts we need as we go along. I have never worked on a DS before, so this will be a great learning experience for everybody, especially me. Let's get started. So first, let's try to apply a little power where the battery goes with a bench power supply. I dialed the power supply to 3.7 volts. The display on the power supply should show me if the DS begins to draw any amps. You can see for a brief moment we have amp draw, but then the board must override the circuit for an unknown reason, and it just shuts it down. Time to open up the shell, and let's take a look and see what's going on the inside. A few tri-wing screws hold the shell together on the back, then a couple Phillips-style screws hold the board itself. The bails were released on the ribbon cables to remove the connections for the screens and digitizer. Now that I've isolated the bottom board from the screens, I figured I would apply power again and see if I got any different results. Doing this would normally eliminate screen-related problems on many other devices. Nope. It's doing the same thing. There is no difference. So let's put the board under the microscope and try and get a better idea of what's going on. Here's the problem, and I guess not the problem at the same time. Everything looks really good. Let's check the fuses. F1 and F2 are still just fine. All of the soldered joints throughout the board look great. I tested quite a few various components around the board, like the filters, caps, and quite a few resistors. It's hard to trace power for obvious reasons, because it shuts itself down. Maybe the top portion of the shell will reveal some of its secrets. Under these screw covers, there are 4 screws that get removed. Then, with a little light prying with my sculpting tools, the 2 halves of the shell come apart. 2 more screws hold the 2 little boards onto the shell here, then the ribbon cables were released. Again, everything looks really good. Hard to test the screens when the board doesn't even boot up. I'm at a loss if there's any further problems than the obvious, and the obvious problem being that the antenna wire and the ribbon cable were cut when the top and the bottom of the DS was separated. It would be bizarre to me if the ribbon cable was needed for the DS to fully boot up, but I ordered one anyway, just in case. So, while we're waiting for the ribbon cable to come in the mail, let's see if we can fix these hinges on the shell. I found these parts right here on Thingiverse. I printed 4 of them at 100% infill, 2 to use, 2 for backup, just because I know how I am. Let's get to installing the parts. First, I completely removed what remained of the hinges by first cutting off the large portions, then dremeling what remained completely flat to the level of the surface. We should have a good flat surface for our new hinges, as well as a perfect area for the glue to bite into. After test fitting the hinge mechanism into the 3D printed part, it was obvious that the receiving hole wasn't even close to being the right diameter. So, I filed and I filed and I filed some more until the mechanism fit into the holes. Super glue was applied into the top and bottom of the fresh new sights, then the new hinges were slid into place with the assistance of some small clamps. The top and bottom portions of the shell were placed together and the hinge mechanism pressed into place. Now it opens and closes great. Just in time too, the new ribbon cable just came in. How convenient. The split end of the antenna wire was removed with a soldering iron and then replaced with 2 new wires to make the same connection. After that was completed, the 2 small boards can be reinstalled into the top of the DS. The ribbon cables were slid back into place and clamped down into the bails. So the new ribbon cable was taped down with Kapton tape, then rolled and slid through the hole designed for it right here. That should hopefully be it for the top half of the shell. After re-screwing the 4 screws holding the top half of the shell together, we can now move on to the bottom half. All of the buttons, membranes, and the bottom screen digitizer were inserted into the shell, making sure that all the ribbon cables and the wires were coming through the board and the openings in the appropriate places. Our ribbon cables were securely fit into the bales, and let me tell you, this took a couple tries. You would not believe how tight the new ribbon cable was in the bale. Anyways, the main board of the DS was secured down with screws so that we could put the board on the microscope and work on the antenna. I was not getting continuity from the female end of the antenna receiver to the board, so it was removed from the board with the soldering iron in exchange for a direct connection with the wires. After the wires were all cleaned up and tucked to the side, that should be it for the repair. Hopefully, it should turn on after we finish putting the shell back together. The back goes on with a few screws, then a brand new, fresh 3D printed battery cover is used to complement our new 3D printed stylus. Are you ready to see if this DS held together by 3D printed parts actually works? Here we go. Well, it looks like there's some good news and some bad news here. Let's start with the good news. Everything turns on, and it functions correctly. It plays DS games and Game Boy Advance games just fine. On to the bad news. There are definitely dead pixels on both the top and the bottom screens. If you've made it this far, hey thanks! I'm going to leave the fate of this DS up to you guys. It is a perfect candidate for a brand new shell and 2 new screens. Maybe we want to sand it down and finish it. Maybe there's a consolizer kit out there for something like this. Maybe there's another option that I'm not thinking of. Let me know what you would possibly want to see in a future video. We have a good motherboard here, and it would be cool to find a good use for it. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. But until next time, I'll see you later.